Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm back with Shoma today. So, Shoma is an counselor. So, thank you very much for taking your time out and joining me. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much. I am happy to be on the podcast.
My pleasure. So, before we get into or I ask you any questions or anything, please introduce yourself and what you do and how did everything start and how did you get into being a counselor? Yeah.
Right. So it was a long way to being a counselor. I think I'm a psychology person through and through, which is I'm trained to teach and I love to teach. I'm also trained to do research. And my transition to counseling happened very recently through research, personal work, therapy, going to therapy and training in therapy myself. And one of the areas that has been very important to me is loss and grieving, because of there being fundamental losses in my own life. And in the process of understanding them, I've unearthed these parts of me. And I like to take them out and work with people in a way that my learning and their experiences are held safely. So that's really been the journey. I'm out and out a psychology person, I think. Yeah.
Great. Really glad that you shared this. Thank you very much. And so the next question I would like to put here is, can you please give a brief note about what you're going to speak about today and what will be the session be about?
Right. So I thought when this opportunity came, I thought of what is it that we really need to speak about, and grief stood out to me. The reason being that the worst of the pandemic seems over again. For some time, we feel like the second wave is receding. So we have again stopped talking about grief, but people are still dying and their families are still grieving. It's still happening every single day. And even the people who lost family members earlier this year, they are thrown into this part of life which they never wanted to find themselves in. And as a society, we don't give grievers what they need space to speak and they need support, and we want to look away and we want them to be okay so we can feel okay, and we want them to deal with their grief privately. So I thought this would be one way to get this out to more people, and so I will be speaking about grief.
Great. So what is grief? Like the first question which comes up is, what's grief
Right.
like?
So grief is textbooks will tell you that grief is a normative or natural response to loss being something precious taken away from you, right? But that's a very bookish definition, right? So I ask people to imagine a time they lost somebody. They lost a family member, they lost a relationship, a pet. If even that doesn't work, I ask people to think of popular movie references of grief. So for instance, if you've seen Order of the Phoenix, when Sirius Black dies, right? For Harry, it's such a moment when he's just there and he's not there. And that is the most shocking, destabilizing thing about grief, that till today, at one point, your life is running on its own track, it's going fine. And then one fine day, it just changes over completely, and there's no way to go back. This has been happening to people over and over. We feel like grief is a natural process, but the way we deal with grief is unnatural. We want people to not speak about the pain that they're having in moments like this, and we want them to look okay, and we don't want to get sucked into that process feeling like it will just pass. It doesn't just pass, and grief has a lot of complex reactions. So grievers may throw themselves into work, they may become very, very quiet, they may socially withdraw, they may also start to very uncommon sort of patterns that you see sometimes. They may start shopping a lot, or they may start drinking a lot, and these are can you hear me? So
What everybody what do you think grief, in the sense when you lose someone of your loved one or any person you love or know, why does it become complicated to understand that it's part of life? Why do we don't understand that, and then we get up why does it get complicated?
Right. I strongly believe this actually begins with us, in the sense that we have a personal discomfort with loss. We have a personal discomfort with not knowing or uncertainty of feeling like iske aage I don't have any way, I can't find a way through this. So that personal discomfort makes it difficult for us to even be with other people who are in the same situation. Now, I think the pandemic has been a big blow to normal grieving processes, because normally our society itself comes together when people are grieving. We have rituals, we have, events at 40th day, we have family coming together to help you through that time. But with the pandemic, what's happened is people are completely alone at the time when they need support the most. So they are in the same homes, max to max, they are available on phones, and grief itself is so isolating. I mean, the pandemic has added this dimension to it. Second thing is with the pandemic, even people you would normally think would be available. So if you want to reach out to your therapist when you're not okay, your therapist would be dealing with COVID in their family. And so the whole idea of support itself has been shaken up. Now, complicated grief will show up in different ways. It can show up as drastic changes in the person's, way of being, in the way they're functioning, in their mood. Not always is a person going to look like they are suffering. So they may still be working, but it's like some part of them is shut down. Okay, it's like the suspension that happens following grief, where they are just living in a limbo. They are with you, but they'll feel like they're not with you. They may be going on to a point of excess, like I said. So it could be substances, it could be relationships, it could be shopping. It's not bad. It's just a way of them to deal with all the sort of reactions that are coming up. Some people, of course, will just become very, very withdrawn. And that's not because they don't have something to say. It's because they have a lot to say, but people around them don't know how to listen. So actually, it's a problem of not having the language and not having the space. So this is what I think complicated grief has been looking like now. There is also a little bit of stigma when you look like you're not living well with grief. So we have an idea of a typically good griever, right? Who's like, going on, carrying on, not looking affected, and we reward that. So automatically grievers will start to feel like if I don't look okay, then that's not the best thing. And the last thing is the unspeakability of it. So Adichie speaks of, she calls grief a cruel kind of education. Nobody opts for it, but this experience happens to you, and then you have had to transition into this world where you don't have the language to explain so many big emotions: anger, shock, guilt, regret coming together at one time. It can be a lot for a person to contain.
Yeah, totally. So the question I would like to put up here is, we understood grief and how it has affected through COVID and all of that, but what can be things done by us to support our friends and family members? What can we do to support them in these hard times?
Right. A lot can be done. The first is to cultivate some sort of a relationship with this idea of loss ourselves, which means to understand. I think it begins with us again, right? So how do I feel about loss? What makes it difficult for me to speak about it with another person? Do I generally show up hoping that I'll tell them aisa karo, and then you're going to be okay? Am I generally pushing people to feel okay and fix things? Because grieving doesn't need your friend or family member to fix you. It needs your friend or family member to accompany you, right? It needs a companion. It doesn't need a fixer. What can be done is you can find ways to communicate, first of all, that you're present to their reality. Someone may not want to speak, so that's not a place to go and say, you know what, I'm here, talk to me about your grief. It's to let that person know that you are with them. So it may be as little as, I know you're looking okay, but if you're not, just know that I'm a message away and I'm going to talk to you. The second thing is, you don't have to say fantastic things to a person who's grieving. Just your presence, listening, nodding, giving them the space to say what they want to say as you're a witness to them works great. Sometimes rituals help. So somebody may want to speak about the person who's gone, but we are uncomfortable. So asking them things like, what are your favorite memories with that person? What do you wish you had been able to say, which is so important in COVID, because people have not gotten the scope to say goodbyes, right? So that may bring some sense of, okay, at least in this space, I'm able to say the words I wanted to say to them. Generally also noting that this person at least has a sense of routine to their lives, because grief will destabilize them. So are they going off track with, say, food, meals, rest, nutrition? Then being able to help in those ways, because those also give the person the feeling that somebody is there for me in this time, because everything they've known as certain in their life has changed, right? So we may have to nudge them to even take care of themselves very, very slowly. So they are not going to be maintaining streaks again. So, you can't feel like I told them to meditate or go for a walk and they're doing it 2 days and they're not doing it. I can't get angry about that as a friend or a companion, because that is the nature of healing in grief. It's very up and down, up and down. So we need to work with that dynamic nature of grief. And the last thing that I always speak about is language, right? So to not say, sometimes people will feel bad when we speak of the person they've lost in past tense. Sometimes when we say, it's happened now, or he's in a better place, or look at the bright side of things. These are things we say very often to people who are grieving. Or we say, your granddad was old, now he's gone, it's good for him. But the person may be thinking, what about me? I was very close to my grandparent, he's the one who raised me, right? So there are very personal meanings attached to loss. And it's very, very important for the language we use to not erase that, or at least to give scope for that, to really be sensitive of what kind of language that you're using when you're speaking to someone who's experienced loss. Yeah.
Okay, great, Shoma. So just last one more question. Would you like to put any kind of message or any kind of thing would like to tell to anyone? Please go ahead.
So I think the pandemic has been the greatest equalizer for loss, because all of us have lost something or the other. If not anything, we have lost the idea of certainty, that when I wake up tomorrow, my world is going to be the same in any way. If you've not lost a person, you've lost a personal milestone. If you've not lost that, you've lost a friend, distance, so many things have happened, right? And we're calling this a loss of well-being. We are calling it recognizable. So to first of all, even treat yourself with kindness, knowing that even if I'm not giving language to it, I am also experiencing a certain loss. To treat yourselves kindly, then to note and never assume that you're in a room of people and you may be saying, COVID happened in my family, but everybody got better. Not to it, I know it's coming from a place of gratitude, but don't assume that somebody who's around you, who you don't know, has not experienced a loss, and think of how these statements land for them. Then the loss may not always be again of somebody that you know. So sometimes we may lose a friend's parent who was very close to us, right? So it's important to recognize that it can have touched different people's lives in different ways, and to not assume that this has not happened to somebody around you, and to be present, to be connected, to be supportive if someone wants to speak of their loss, because it makes a big difference when you have that space as a griever. And previously, I think there was no conversation about grief as much. Different types of grievers experience things, but they dealt with it privately. But now that there is so much awareness, put that to use. Start with people closest to you. So
Yes, totally. So thank you very much for taking your time out and joining me. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and really glad that we were able to have the conversation on grief. Thank you very, very much for joining in. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much again.
thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
My pleasure.